Hey everyone, hope you guys are enjoying Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak in whichever platform you're choosing to play it on. And today I wanted to bring you certainly a video that I'm very excited to put together, and that is the comparison video for Risen Crimsow Glow Valstrax hazard version versus non-hazard versions attacks. This is something that new Risen Elders have been pretty much boosted up with their new hazard versions. If you're doing anomaly investigation quest past level 251, or if you're actually just doing the normal anomaly quest through the quest tabs, not the actual ones that let you raise the level, if you're doing that, those quests level 271 plus, and you're gonna notice that these new Risen Elders pretty much have like the glowing kind of like orange glow around their bodies. The icons are a little bit different than the original ones, therefore it means these are like hazard version of monsters. Remember, the hazards are pretty much a brand new difficulty. We've seen a couple of monsters get new hazard versions, a couple of event quests have had them as well, and essentially means that you get new attacks, new menacing powers, and a bunch of new good stuff there. First and foremost, though, I want to give a huge shout out before I start showing some gameplay for Shincry. I reached out to him directly, requested if I was able to feature a couple of his clips in my channel. So huge shout out to him. Link in the description below for not only their original Twitter post, but also link in the description below for their Twitter account and their YouTube channel as well. Show him some love. He's doing amazing work. And I certainly wanted to signal boost not just the information that he's provided, but also, of course, give him plenty of love for just going all out and doing these comparison videos. So getting right into it, you should be able to see, of course, that on the upper left side, you're going to just have normal Risen Crimsow Glow Valstrax. Is just a normal version that you're going to fight whichever quest you might have, whether it is anomaly or just whatever basic quest you have. On the bottom right side, you have the new hazard version. Again, if you're doing anomaly investigation quest, these will start from 251 plus. If you're doing just the normal version quest of him, it would be 271 plus, I believe is when he gets unlocked. Now, on the upper left side, you're going to notice just some of the attacks are pretty much basic, but on the bottom right, that's like the new powers that these monsters will have. So you can start out with where they mentioned that the hazard version has an enrage that will double charge attack. So you're gonna notice that on the upper side, he just kind of does that wing direct, kind of like a plane dive attack that he typically does. But on the bottom right side, you're gonna notice that not only does he take the stab one, he goes forward, but then he kind of readjusts, turns around, and then does it once again. And that is the difference right here. The attacks are very similar, but you're gonna notice that they're extended or they're more powerful. Of course, they're certainly gonna hit you harder. Continuing to the next set of combos, you're going to notice that it says hazard version enrages will chain with aerial combo after the back flip. So once again, if you look at the north, I should be cycling those clips so you could be able to see them a little better. The first time around, you see the normal Risen Valstrax just kind of like do the dive, put those plumes of like fire all around the floor, the red fire, and then he kind of like jumps over, vaults kind of like over the hunter. On the bottom right side, you're gonna notice that he still puts that line of like red fire all around the floor. He still vaults over the hunter, but then what he does instantly is, of course, he hovers in the air a little bit, right stabs through the wing, and then once again he pounces directly into the ground. So if you get caught up with that, it's a combo attack. Essentially it's one of those where like not only will he take down 60% of your health with that stab, but chances are the pound is gonna finish you off. So those are the more dangerous type of attacks whenever they try to combo you to death. In the next set of attacks, we get to see on the upper side that, of course, it reads that the hazard version extends the chain with an explosive uppercut. So this is a continuation of that same attack, but in a different combo format. So he still kind of like double stabs on the upper right side, and then just kind of stands there and readjusts. But then on the bottom side, you're going to notice that he does the right stab, then he follows it up with the left stab, he backs up a little bit and does a direct vertical kind of like facing forward fire, red glow kind of attack. So it's one of those where like, again, if the stabs don't necessarily get you and you already decided to back up, for example, me as a gunner, you're going to notice that he's still going to have some sort of like distance type of attack to that combo, and that is the uppercut, which kind of throws that red fire all over the floor facing directly forward. Now in the next set of clips, you're going to notice that the hazard version does a typical backflip. This type of attacks have been available to the normal version, but this time around you're going to notice smaller explosions happen around all of his body, and it has a new mix of attacks. So on the upper left side, you're going to notice that it starts off with like originally hovering, it pounces directly, it puts that plume of red fire all across the floor in a straight line. Then it kind of just stands still a little bit. But on the bottom right, you're going to notice that it does the pounce, it goes fly ups up in the air, it puts the fire line all across the floor, and then it readjusts and it dives directly forward. It hovers, and then it just pounces directly onto the ground. So it's one of those where like it has essentially 4 attacks, where the basic version just has 2 attacks. And that's one of the things that these risen monsters do very well. They build up on an original attack and they mix it up with a like maybe a different combo that it didn't necessarily do whenever you had. And that original pounce that you see it get to do, like once it's hovering in the air, that's an attack that it used to just typically, the normal risen Crimsow Valstrax does it on his own. But now this new version kind of like builds that attack as a closer for the previous set of attacks that it did originally. At the same time, you're also going to notice that the hazard version extends the wing stabs twice. So usually you see the risen Crimson Glow Valstrax on the upper right does those typical 2 swings, the left one kind of like straight forward, typical one that you try to avoid, and then he does the stab directly down to the ground. But on the bottom right, you're going to notice that he hovers, he does the stab directly, he does the left stab this time around, and then this time around, instead of pouncing with the left, he does it with the right. So he goes left, right, right, stab. Like it's just like a direct, again, he builds up on the typical combo attack when the upper right side is just, a very simple avoid the stab and then the pounce, where now this time, it does a straight up stab, and then pounce. Now another attack that you're going to notice the new hazard risen Crimsow Valstrax do very often is that big kind of like spin attack that he does. Typically the basic version would just kind of stab and then do like a backward swing while the left wing or the right wing, it kind of switches it up whenever it wants. He'll stab directly, keep the wing out, and then do like a backward body swing all around his body. That attack is relatively easy to avoid, but you're going to notice that on the newer version, not only does he start out that attack with the typical stab, so he'll extend that wing, he'll power it up, he'll spin around backwards directly, and you're going to notice a bunch of like red little fires spraying all around on the floor. So if the spin doesn't get you, if the stab doesn't necessarily get you, the little fires that it kind of lays all over the floor, they certainly might. Now, one of the things that this new hazard risen elders do very well is repositioning. I spoke about that when I was doing the comparison videos for Teostra and risen Kushala Daora, the hazard version. They do very good readjusting that. Originally the normal versions just didn't do all the heck of a lot. And one of the things you're going to notice in the next clip is that the hazard version not only extend the wing stabs as I mentioned there, but also side dashes. For me, I would call it just side steps, because I do that a lot with like my gunner. And you're going to notice that on the upper left side, you're going to see it do the stab, so stabs left, then stab right, and then quickly just kind of stands there a little bit. But on the bottom right, you're going to notice it do the left stab, and then he quickly readjusts. He can actually pivot from one side to another. He'll body side, he'll swipe, he'll just, move to a different spot to kind of like get a better angle on you. And then he'll do the left stab or the right stab, whichever he starts with. He'll do the opposite, and then he'll do that other stab as it repositions. The base version doesn't necessarily always do that. This one does. And the repositioning goes a step further that we're going to see in the next clip. The hazard version ultimate extends with the powered up wing stab too. So essentially what you get to see here is that he powers up his wings. He does that big kind of like swipe attack on the upper left side. Then he extends, and he only has one stab going forward. That's what the normal version usually does. But what you're going to notice here is that he'll on the bottom right side, not only does he power it up, so essentially whichever wing, whether it's left or right, again, they're like, he'll switch it around for whatever wing, depending on whatever it is that your hunter is focused on. You're going to notice that he takes a very short step forward. He doesn't like really move all that much. He takes a small step forward, and this is something that we're going to see in the next clip. Then he'll do the big swipe. Not only does he extend the wing forward, but instead he does the spinning attack backwards, but it's actually moving forward, something that the other one didn't necessarily do originally. And then after it does that, It charges up again. He does a spike, straight up like a poke attack on the right, and then he follows it up with the left. So essentially he does 5 separate different attacks followed off of just one charge. He charges it, he does the spin, you know, which is extended. He'll charge it up again, he'll charge, poke, and then, like, you know, directly stabs. So it's one of those things where, like, that thing just, again, it's trying to combo you to death, and it's something that you're gonna notice very often. And in the last clip, we do finally get to see that they do specifically mention that he does that little bit of like a charge forward. Now on the upper left side, you're gonna just typically see it kind of do an attack. He'll power it up, and then he just kind of like does, whether it is the spin or whether it's the spike attack or like the poke attack directly forward. It doesn't necessarily charge forward, but on the bottom right, you're gonna see it just charge up and then instantly begin to like step forward gradually, just get closer to you. So when essentially he does that big spin attack, which he already has his big wings kind of like spread open, so he's gonna do more reach. And I've seen this thing, you know, one hit KO people pretty much relatively often. He still menacingly kind of like moves forward a little bit so he can get a better reach. So essentially whenever he does that spin attack, he's gonna have more, you know, a better chance to be able to clip you at the very least, instead of just getting maybe a full-on attack. So he'll catch you a little bit, maybe not necessarily fully, but this is where your wire bug silk bind should be able to come in handy if you certainly want to avoid it, or if you're, you know, a shield user or something like that. This is where you want to pull out that shield and certainly defend yourself. So that's pretty much the differences between the normal Risen Crimson Glow Valstrax, which you typically would have in normal quest, or any sort of anomaly investigation quest below level 251. So maybe even up to 250, you'll still be able to fight just that normal version, upper left side. Bottom right side, level 251 plus anomaly investigations, 271 plus if you want to do just a normal quest version of itself, where you don't necessarily level up anomaly investigation levels. Once again, huge shout out to Shincry. I know he's going to be working on the Risen Shagaru Magala video. I will be talking about that at a later date, but once again, link in the description below for his Twitter channel, YouTube channel, and the post where he shared all this information. If you're brand new to my channel though, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.